Hey everyone, George Christie here with Wine Industry Network. Welcome to another edition of our Win Educational Webinar Series. We've got a really good one for you today. It's titled Unlocking the Power of Automation, Streamline Your Winery's Post-Production Process. And today's webinar is sponsored by Clevertech. We've got Beth Zarnick-Duffy, who's going to be leading the conversation, obviously with Clevertech. And we've got Giorgio Zanardi, who's going to join us for a portion of today's webinar as well. So thank you for being with us. And Beth, thank you for being with us here as well. How are you today?
I'm great, George. How are you today?
I'm good. So Beth, talk a little bit about your background in this part of our industry.
So I joined Clevertech a little over a year ago as sales manager in North America, but I'm not new to automating wineries and other industries. I've been helping wineries to increase efficiency, reduce labor, and automate their plants with leading capital equipment technology for more than 25 years.
So I imagine like the technology has changed drastically since you started this.
Yeah, technology has evolved drastically because, as we work through the processes with wineries or just other clients in general, we listen to what their needs are in the industry. And then we have the ability to build, to engineer, to launch equipment that meets those needs. So we keep evolving, as do, for example, the energy savings on motors and just components evolve as well. So you kind of have to keep up with what's going on in the industry.
Well, it's funny, and I'm not going to go off tangent, too much of a tangent here, but we work with a lot of industry vendors and across all different categories in the industry, and we see it all the time that most of the innovation really is happening on the vendor side. It's because the wineries need something, right? So the winery goes, "Oh, it'd be cool if the machine could do this," and then the vendors go out there and they figure out how to get it done. So I don't know. I just think that's pretty cool when people just don't realize how much innovation occurs on the vendor side of our industry.
Yeah. And for me, I go out and, I meet with the vendors, I listen to their needs, and then I'm always like, oh, yeah, sure, we can do that for you. And then I have to go back and tell the engineering department, hey, I just told this winery that we'll create this for them.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us a little bit about Clevertech.
Clevertech is a family-owned company that's located in the northern region of Italy. Really the Silicon Valley of the packaging industry, if you will. So Clevertech started business in 1987, got their start in the can industry and so on. And then, of course, Clevertech has evolved because Clevertech has a lot of multinational companies, a lot of very big clients for home care, for pet food. So we're in a lot of different industries. And it's really great because some of the multinational companies, some of the really large Fortune 500 companies, cause you to have to move forward or evolve just to keep up with their processes and meet their specs and demands. And so then that carries over.
Well, I think that's lucky for the wine industry, right? Because I imagine there's things that you're developing for some of your other multinational companies, multi-billion-dollar companies in other industries. They got to go, hey, that will work for wine. We could probably move that into the wine category as well.
Yeah, of course it does. So especially like TPM and meeting all of the industry 4.0 standards and so on.
So when a winery or a wine company is looking to make a major investment, like a new line, like which you guys are able to produce, and that's a big decision. Talk to me about the process that people go through when they're looking to make a change like this or an investment like this.
Yeah, so oftentimes a lot of the winery customers or, they don't even know where to begin the process because they may not have in-house engineers. They may not have the staff available to gather all the specs that they need for a project. So we are here at Clevertech to walk you through that process. So, we can meet with you on Teams, we can meet with you in person, we'll send an engineer to your facility if need be, but we'll walk you through and tell you, hey, these are the things we need to know if you want to have a bulk depelletizer or a case packer. So we'll walk you through everything.
So I want to go back to like what we talked about earlier about technology and how fast technology is changing. So when you're making a big investment in a line enhancement or a new line, knowing that technology is changing so rapidly, like how do you make sure that what you're buying is going to be good, not just today, but 10 years from today?
So that's a good point, George. So I say that you need to future-proof your equipment, and it's something that we are very adamant about here at Clevertech. So you need to choose a partner that's going to be able to meet your needs today and then serve your needs later on, because the equipment that you're running today is probably going to be the equipment that you'll be running 10, 20 years from now. So you have a couple of decades to use that equipment. So you need to make sure that you have a partner that can supply all the components and upgrade your system if you need, because you may be running bottles today that you're not running 2, 3, 10 years from now. So you need to make sure that your partner can help you to upgrade those systems so that you're able to run a reverse taper 5 years from now that you weren't running when you bought your equipment, or you may be running at a faster speed. You may decide that, now you're running at 90 bottles a minute, but all of a sudden you're at 250 bottles per minute. So we can come in and we can upgrade your systems as well to make sure that you can meet production needs.
What about, maintenance and support, training, right? So you get a new line, even if you've got a maintenance guy, at your winery, he needs to be trained. When things go wrong, he's going to need help. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I imagine that's a big part of what you have to contend with.
Yeah, so our office is in Fort Myers, Florida. So we are one of Clevertech's 8 subsidiaries. And so in North America, we have a very large facility in Fort Myers, and we have spare parts. We have true 24/7 service and support. Because we have so many subsidiaries, we're able to handle calls, all hours of the day or night. And that really helps with the process. But we can also work out preventative maintenance programs with our customers, or we can supply technicians to come in and do audits periodically. But really important is that if you make a call into Clevertech North America, which is your first point of response, someone's going to pick up the phone. They're going to find out what your needs are. And then we'll decide, can we walk you through the process on the phone to help you get your system up and running, because we can connect remotely? Or do we need to, send someone out to your facility? And we can do all of those things, but the first point is just somebody answering the phone 24/7, and we can do that. And we also have 50 software and mechanical technicians at our facility, because we serve such a vast amount of equipment needs around North America.
Well, and I mean, that makes sense to me, because if one of these lines go down, you just can't have that happen, right? Or it can't go down for long. So you've got to be on top of that.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about the process. So let's say fast forward, you've met with the client, you figured out how much space you have to work with, you figured out what they exactly need, and they say, okay, cool, let's go. They sign the agreement. Now what happens?
So the equipment's built in our facility in Italy, and then we invite the client over to have an FAT at our facility. So you can see the equipment is already built. It's running at the speed it will be in your facility. So everybody gets to see, yes, this is my equipment and it's running. And then it makes for a better startup at your facility as well, because you've already proofed it out at Clevertech.
Yeah, I can imagine, because everyone's there, right? So you can get all the troubleshooting out of the way, everything dialed in perfectly, where you have your entire team. And then what do they disassemble it and bring it over to the United States?
Yeah, so they disassemble it and they get it ready for seaworthy transport, and then it's brought into the United States. And then we begin, the whole process. You're assigned a project engineer who will help everybody through the process in the United States. So we take you through the entire process, and then, installation, startup, commissioning, everything is done by our technicians.
One of the questions that we had, so when people register for the webinar, we were able to gather some questions. So I'm going to run through some of those with you. One of the questions had to do with energy savings or not, right? So we know that there's going to be some savings on the labor side. What about on the energy side?
So there is savings on the energy side, because you have more efficient motors now than you did before. So if you're using old equipment in your facility, there's going to be much more energy efficient motors that are running. So as an example, George, I had a client who anticipated a 3-year ROI on equipment, but just based on energy consumption, they saw ROI in 18 months.
That's pretty amazing. What about, there was another question about, converting to bulk glass and or going back and forth from, some of my line is, we're coming in bulk glass and some of it's coming in cases. Talked about that.
Okay, so there's a great savings by converting to bulk glass. So of course, now you have more layers, you have more glass per layer than you do in cases. You're storing bulk glass instead of storing specific cases of glass. So there's a lot of cost savings there, but it's just also you're not now having the cases that might have case damage or something like this. But for those clients that maybe can run 60% bulk and still have case goods because they might have some wines that they really want in those, we have equipment that can run both bulk and case. But we can talk to anybody about that process and maybe what that savings would look like to them.
Okay, that's good. We had a question about alternative packaging, cans, plastic bottles. Like, what about that? Because we're certainly seeing the wine industry start to look at some alternative packaging.
Yeah, the wine industry is looking at alternative packaging, and with RTDs on the rise, it makes sense to be able to depelletize or pelletize, cans, PET, glass bottles, and a lot of people are also lightweighting bottles. So we can make adjustments and we can handle, whatever you can put into a package, we can pelletize, depelletize, case pack it.
That comes in handy. What if you don't need the full-blown soup to nuts, but just maybe a depalletizer? I mean, can you get as much or as little as you want, and can you add on later if budget allows?
Yeah, so actually a lot of clients do that because they may not have, the money like some of the larger wineries or some of the larger just customers in general to buy a full line at one time. So they may decide, hey, I need to buy a case packer right now, or I need a case packer partition inserter, or I want to start with bulk glass because I want to see that savings. So I'm going to start with bulk glass. So we'll help someone through that process. And, if you have a really small space or you're thinking that your space is small, let us have a look because we have flexibility. We're not cookie cutter machines. So we have flexibility to work with a client to fit equipment into the space they have available.
So one of your clients, Copper Cane, they've got that really iconic wax top that they do, which is amazing that can be done on the line the way that you do with it. We've got Giorgio Zanardi. Giorgio is the general manager for Clevertech North America. And Giorgio, we've got a great video. If you could just kind of walk us through what we're seeing here, because I just think that's really super interesting.
Hello, everybody. My name is Giorgio Zanardi, general manager of Clevertech North America, which is the North America branch of Clevertech Group, located in Fort Myers, Florida. I've been in the business and industrial packaging equipment business for over 18 years, and I joined Clevertech a little bit over 8 years ago. Okay, let me explain to you who is Clevertech, what we do, and how we can help our customer for their need in terms of automation. Founded in 1987, Clevertech is a family-owned company that is located in Emilia-Romagna, in the north part of Italy, near the city of Reggio Emilia, in an area that is also very well known as the Packaging Valley, due to the presence of many OEM companies specialized in the industrial packing equipment. We are a leader in the automation sector, which design and manufacture many different types of equipment, including depalletizer, palletizer, case packer, and full integrated handling system for a wide variety of sectors, including home care, personal care, food, beverage, and in the most recent years, also wine and spirits. Our highly customized equipment are designed to meet the most strict expectations in terms of automation, flexibility, and of course, technical feature. We work with a very wide range of customers, from the very small family-owned business up to the largest multinational company in the fast consumer brands. And Clevertech, in Clevertech, we can rely on a very multicultural team of very skilled professionals working together to deliver exceptional results, focusing on mutual support and exchange of experiences. So here I have a great video I would like to share that shows the system during the FAT in Italy. So you can see that all the equipment are fully assembled. And I want to clarify that the product that we use for the FAT, they were just consumable that was sent by the customer for FAT purposes. So they were not completely perfect. Anyway, so here we have the depalletizer. It's a robotic depalletizer. We'll depalletize each single case with the full bottle inside. We will open automatically the flaps of each case. And then in another station, another robot will remove the full bottles from the cases and place them on these packs. So they're like a plastic bases to transport the bottles to the next station, where we will orient the bottles because the label needs to face a specific position. Here we have the dipping station, so where we will dip the bottles into the wax. Before that, we will also apply. We had to apply also a capsule that is a proprietary patented capsule from copper cane. And now we are placing the wax bottle into the cases. And here you can see what I was trying to explain earlier. So it's a very high-end finishing bottle. So we need to be very careful with the handling of those products. And then we are sealing the cases and palletize the finished product into pallets. This system is running around 22 bottles per minute. That is a really considerable speed for this kind of systems.
Well, thank you, Giorgio. That was really interesting. So, Beth, for myself, and I imagine for a lot of the people that you work with, right, you can have a great conversation. You can show them some great videos. You can give them some really great testimonials. But a lot of times they want to actually see a line that's running and probably maybe talk to somebody that you've worked with. So talk to me about that.
So what's really nice, George, is I find that the wineries are not only a really great group of people to work with, but they're very kind to each other. So a lot of the wineries will allow other wineries to come into their facility to have a tour. They'll talk with them. You know, I personally like to send them in, and so they have an unbiased, unbiased conversation, so they can find out, what was it like for installation? What is your labor saving? How efficient are you now? So they can ask these questions and feel like they're getting the right answer. But the wineries are very open to sharing and letting others in to see what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the nice things about our industry is that we say this all the time, very cliche-ish, but it is really much an all ships rise with the tide type of an industry. And so I've obviously experienced a lot of that myself, which is really nice. So Beth, one of the things that I know you must bump up against is just size, right? So sometimes you're working with like a smaller footprint.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Okay, so working with a smaller footprint is not impossible. So some of the wineries, they were built so long ago at the time when no one imagined having, great big equipment sitting on the floor. So for example, we worked with a client, Oak Ridge Winery in Lodi, California. They had a very small space available, but they knew by converting to bulk glass, they were going to save not only labor by having automated equipment, but just their overall cost by converting to bulk. So we help them with a system that I believe is the smallest bulk depelletizer in the industry. And so what we did, George, is is we're a little bit creative since we don't have cookie cutter machines. So we configured the equipment to fit the space that they had available. And so we can show a video where prior to the video starting, a fork truck driver has brought a pallet of glass in, set it on the conveyor, and someone has manually undressed it, meaning they've removed the stretch wrap, straps, and top frame. This is the depelletizer that we manufactured for Oak Ridge Winery. And again, they had a very small space. So the pallets that are already undressed comes in. There's a suction cup to remove the tear sheets and put them into a magazine. But this magazine is different because one of the pallets is actually being raised up and used as the place where we're stacking all of the tear sheets until we reach a certain number, and then the fork truck driver will pick those back up. But as the glass is being depelletized, we have grippers that are actually capturing the layer pad below, holding it in place so that when the glass is swept off of the layer, we're keeping control of that layer pad, and it reduces the potential for fallen bottles, and it just adds stability. So then the glass is moved to the layer transfer table, and then ultimately it'll be single filed to the filler. And then those pallets that are discharged are then also stacked, and then they move out and are picked up by the fork truck driver. So your fork truck driver is the person undressing, delivering, and picking up the empty dunnage.
So Beth, obviously by working with Clevertech and bringing in one of your lines, there's going to be some savings around labor, but where else might a winery experience some savings?
Right. So besides bulk glass, which we can talk about, as I said, one of my customers had reduced energy consumption, which resulted in seeing ROI faster because they saved over $1 million per year in energy. So it's something that I had never really thought about as I sell equipment, but $1 million a year is a lot of money. So it helped them, instead of achieving ROI in 3 years, they achieved it in 18 months.
Yeah, that's amazing. For anybody who's interested in learning a little bit more, Beth, what should they do next?
So they should contact either myself or Giorgio. Probably the best point of contact would be me. And then we can walk through the process. We can talk about, what's next. Do we meet in person? Do we have a Teams meeting? Or they can just tell me, hey, this is something we're thinking about and I have a project. What do you think? But we'll definitely be able to navigate them through the process.
I mean, this is not a quick thing, right? So it just takes some time. It's really just about getting started, getting the conversation rolling, getting to know each other a little bit better, and letting it go from there.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Beth. That was great. Thank you, Giorgio, as well. For those of you in the audience, we appreciate you being with us. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. If you have any questions, as we mentioned, reach out to Beth and/or Giorgio. That's what they're there for. We look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.